that is a one-step fly. Tie in a tail, wrap a brush, and you're done. So that is a bare bones, bulkhead, Chosen One, dubbing brush version. Now, if you guys remember back to my Chosen One series, this is just one of the many options. This bare bones bulkhead version. It's one of my favorites, but I could cut this head high and tight with a razor blade, glue eyes on it, little keel weight, you got a jerk fly, right? I could put lead eyes on here or large bead chain eyes on here, and I can adapt this fly to have just a slow sink rate so I can fish it on my floating line. I could put a silicone head on here with a little bit of lead wraps, like 030 lead wraps on the shank for momentum, and create a tube fly like glide bait using the silicone to remove all the friction from the head, make a small trapped air pocket with lead weight for momentum. If you remember the silicone variation of the Chosen One. So this is just the platform, and the dubbing brush is something I want to show you guys because it's wicked cool. And what's really cool is if you've ever tied one, if you've ever had Squimpish hair and actually built the fly, you'll be able to get this brush down probably in 1 or 2 tries, because that mid-body wing and that shoulder area that's in the loop and that strung fuzzy fiber head, well, the density is the same, the proportions are the same, the length is the same. If you've ever worked with it, all you're going to do is take that proportion, that scale, that density that you're used to tying at for, say, a 1/0, and you're going to cut that off and distribute it out in the brush, and you're going to take the strung fuzzy fiber and work it the same way you would work it if you were going to do it in a loop, but you're going to put it in a brush, and now all you have to do is wind this onto a hook with a tail. It's literally that simple. It's like a one and done fly, and all you've done is taken Squimpish and strung fuzzy fiber, and you've designed the fly on the dubbing brush table instead of in the vise. Now, something you need to understand is the fact that this brush could be 100% Squimpish hair at the correct density, and I could have a brush that's 100% strung fuzzy fiber with the different proportions at the correct density. And then you could commercialize it that way by making a commercial material, as in the dubbing brush is designed as a material. But that's not what I'm doing. I'm splitting this up and I'm making my dubbing brush. The dubbing brush is the fly, not a material. So I have custom proportions, custom density going into a body, a shoulder, and a head section. Body, shoulder, head. And you're gonna see as we progress through different dubbing brush recipes, that's always gonna be the same. Body, shoulders, head. Body, shoulders, head. It's going to be straight Squimpish. It's going to be Squimpish with strung fuzzy fiber. It's going to be strung fuzzy fiber. You're going to have this progression as the fly is laid out. That could be divvied up into one solid brush, one solid brush, one solid brush. But because I don't tie on a commercial scale anymore, I tie on a very custom, one of a kind, you know, each fly is kind of its own deal. I like to design a fly in the brush, and it'll allow me to show you a little bit more complexity that you can then break out into a more commercially mindful setting if you choose that route. So let's dive in, and I'm going to show you how to put together a Chosen One dubbing brush with literally nothing more, I'm looking for it, than some Squimpish hair. That's all you need. Some strung fuzzy fiber. And then if your Squimpish hair already has flash blended into it, like literally you're done, but if you want to add a little bit of complexity, you can just come in with some wing and flash and put some small highlights in there, and you're golden. So let's dive in and check it out. So I'm going to come in with 9/1000 of an inch uni dubbing brush wire. This happens to be size large. And then as I run this across, I'm going to put a layer of wax on here. So now I'm going to come in with some squimpishflies.com Squimpish hair. Now Squimpish hair toes this perfect line between like stiffness and movement, because in the brush everything's going to stick out 90 degrees. So it's going to have volume because of the stiffness, but it's all going to veil back and be all wispy because it toes that line perfectly. So we're going to be able to build nice, 4, 5, 6 inch flies with one material set. Now, following the Chosen One recipe, I'm going to come in with my mid-body hair, and I'm going to come in with the little bit of hair that would go into the loop. So I understand, because I've tied the fly so many times, kind of the amount of hair needed to create the right volume and shape of the fly. I'm going to tease out the short fibers just like you would if this was bucktail or any other material. Now, if there's any tip hairs longer than the proportions I need, I'm going to rip them out and restack them to the correct length, shorten the butts. I'm going to spread this out, gently give it a nice light comb through. You don't want to pull that out your fingers. It's pretty easy to do, so just be gentle with it. And then I'll adjust the proportions So I'll kind of get like a bulkhead effect right up in here, whereas this is going to be more like a hollow fly effect with shorter butts. That's going to blend into my tail section. Then I'm going to come in with a pack of strung fuzzy fiber. I'm going to cut it to the same proportions I would if I was going to work this in a loop or stack it. Which means I'm going to cut off a section off the hank, cut it in half, cut it in half again, make sure it's combed out. Then I'm going to hold that in the midpoint of my fingers and I'm going to cut off one side. So one side is going to be short, one side is going to be long. It's going to stick to my scissors for some reason. I'm going to put the long side in first, which is going to be my collar. Put the short side right in front of it, which is going to be my head. Now I can come in with any sort of flash highlines I want. That Squimpish hair already had some flash blended into it, but I'm going to come in with a little bit of gold wing and flash. Put half aside, and I'm just going to feather that into this kind of shoulder section. Then I'm going to come in with floral chartreuse wing and flash, which I'm going to put into my head. Come back with that wire, wax it up, drape it right over that midpoint. Just going to spin that off there. Going to get my board out of there. Come in with a bodkin, pick that out, make sure it's nice and even, make sure it's nice and consistent all the way across. You can make those heads nice and dense. And go ahead and spin that up. Just make sure the Squimpish right here doesn't fall over on itself too much. You can just kind of make it vertical again. Now as I get some wraps on here, I'm going to come and counter spin this. Comb it all out. You can see I have no fibers trapped down on that core whatsoever. Everything sticks out perfectly perpendicular. Come in and test those fibers. Make sure nothing's going to slip on you. Everything should be nice and taut inside that loop. And we'll cut this free.